Good evening, everyone. Myself, Ritesh, CEO of Inoso Group and Director of Digital HR. I want panel today, as well as the amazing audience and my supporting partner. This is Inosource Solutions, a leading organizations into corporate training, a COBUS, which is into employee value propositions, consultations, and digital employer branding, and an ASMA, it's an academia community partner. Support of this partners, we Digital HR has grown up very immensely. Digital HR is a leading community platform for the HR professional aiming digital transformations and innovations in HR practices. So if we talk about digital HR, so far we have around 8,000 plus HR associated with us across the countries, and we are running more than 10 city chapters to engage the HR professionals. The overall organizations, the digital HR community is aiming for spreading the knowledge through various kind of virtual events, then sessions, and then master classes on the subjects like HR practices, the new norms in the organizations, employee scenarios, organizations performance, mindfulness, etc. So if we talk about today's excitement, today we all are very much excited for the seeing the today's the webinar topic of changing the dimensions of employee engagement and organizations culture. As we all know, in the second wave of COVID, like every organization is going into work from home, and the scenarios are getting changed with respect to the employee engagement, the organization's culture. So today is my expert panel is coming with their own experience specific to this particular subject, and we all are really excited to know the kind of how the cultural shift is happening in the industries, how this cultural shift can be strategizing, the role of digitizations in day-to-day work life, and as well as how it's impacting to the employee experience and the strategizing the employee experience. Strategizing the organization's communication structure to engage the employees. So these are the important aspects that today's webinar will definitely give us from my entire expert panel. So rather than wasting much of my time, let me invite and take the sessions ahead to Krishna introducing our today's speakers panel, and then the today's session. So once again, welcome to everyone, and have a great sessions ahead. Thank you so much. Yeah, well, Krishna.
Thank you so much, Vishnu, and a good evening to everyone. A very warm evening to everyone. I take this pleasure to invite our eminent speaker. To begin with, we have Mr. Ratan Agrawal with us. He's the head HR R&D Hero Motocorp India Global. Over the last 3 decades, he has led strategic HR and organizational development in multiple organization sectors around the world. We welcome you, sir. Next, we have Ms. Shalini Naagar, Human Resource Director, Baxter. She is a transformational human resource leader with more than 2.5 decades of diversified experience across various sectors like healthcare, IT, ITES, retail, and energy. We welcome you, ma'am. Next, we have Mr. Jubin Kapasi with us, Global HR Business Partner, Philips. He is a business-driven human resource executive, adept at synchronizing human capital and management processes with company objectives to produce bottom-line results. He holds an experience across multiple industries such as healthcare, technology, consulting, and R&D in HR business. He specializes in getting up GCC and managing talent for high-tech industries. We welcome you, sir. Next, we have Mr. Vikas with us. He's the head HR IPG DXTRA. He's a leading voice in the HR community in India, having spent over 18 years in the domain holding leadership position across industry sectors. We welcome you, sir. Lastly, we have our moderator for the evening, Ms. Runa Maitra. She is the founder and director of People Talent International, a custodian of business consultants from various domains. She has 2 decades plus HR and OD experience in fintech, IT, ITS, professional services, manufacturing, and the retail sectors in the India and the US and the UK. We welcome you, ma'am. Now I request Ms. Runa Maitra to take the webinar ahead. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you, Krishna. This is a great opportunity to thank Digital HR team, Rahul, Ritesh, Krishna, and the entire team who works very hard to put this program together. And it's my immense pleasure to welcome and invite my co-panelists to speak today on the topic. And we have already heard their introduction by Krishna, and we are pretty much looking forward to listen to their experience and also learn from them. And I'm promising my audience that you will have plenty of takeaways, since the journey each one of them has taken is immense, and they have such diverse background. We are very, very confident that we will be doing justice to our topic, and we are very, very happy to share that. Even if we are talking about digital fatigue, a lot of webinars are happening. But if you look at 2020 and 2021 experience of digital HR, we have organized similar such web sessions, webcast, master classes, learning events, and received excellent feedback. And I think that's why we got prompted to keep on touching upon the contemporary subject, and we picked up this amazing topic. I think between all of us, we discussed and thought what would make sense when audience will come, and they are the actual heroes, and sheroes of us, because they're the one who makes the webinar successful with their questions, with their lot of enthusiasm. And they also take time out. So thank you all for joining us today. And let's look at the topic when we are talking about changing dimension of employee engagement and organization culture. We are all talking about future of work. Then why we are talking about culture? I think somewhere the whole dimension between 2020 and 2021 has changed. Largely because during the first wave, we were not so much prepared. But when the second wave happened, we were pretty much prepared, and we knew how to tackle that. And somewhere we are fully geared up, whether there is a third wave or not. But I think HR has joined hand, taking the driver's seat and working hand in hand with CEO and the entire management function to drive the entire engagement model into the next level. And you know what? Culture is what motivates and retains talented people. So we are going to talk a lot about talent today, engagement, and building a culture. So without much ado, I'm going to really request each one of my speaker to do a keynote initially. Then I have a few questions for them. And then by the time, I'm sure audience will put forward their questions, which I would be very, very happy to take. And we can all have an excellent takeaway from today's session. So I invite Ratan to begin our session today with his wisdom and experience. We are really looking forward to Ratan, and let's hear from you.
Thank you, Runa. How much time we have?
Each one of you can take around 7-8 minutes. I think that is good now.
Okay.
5 to 7 minutes, I normally say, but it's up to you.
Okay. So I'll try to do justice to that. Yes, definitely. So again, thank you very much, Runa, and the entire Digital HR team for inviting us in this august presence of co-panelists, which are from different walks of profession and life. So good to see everybody and coming together for discussing something which is very, very relevant today. I would do in short, I would just share some of the experiences which we have recently undergone in the company in terms of our engagement and culture, and then would try to think about that later in our conversation with Runa. So I hope that is okay with all of you. So basically, if I look at the leadership level, so now I'll start my conversation with one of the famous quotes, which is said that people are going to forget what you did or say to them, but they are not going to forget how you made them feel. And this is what, as a leadership level, we need to think about our people in the organization all the time. So how do they feel? How do we manage the moments of truth in the lives of people? So that's what we look at. And in last 1 year, the kind of crisis we have all faced in life as well as in livelihood, that is unprecedented. 2008, we have seen the crisis was more of ethical nature. People were driven by the greed and power, and that's why that kind of crisis had come. But in 2020, when we were thinking that we are starting a defining decade afterwards, we found out that we have come across one of the most challenging and kind of humanitarian crisis, which we have never faced before in our lifetimes. And that is how we started the year 2020, April 2020. And the moment we started in our journey, so basically, initially, we didn't know what to do, but we were the first to, close out all our plants and locations. Now, after doing so, the first priority was definitely to save people from the virus and support them as much as possible. And that's where the issue of engagement came in between. And that's where we started applying our heads together. Now, we looked at a very different level, at an organizational level, at employee minds level or emotional level. And the third is social and family level. So organizationally, definitely the entire core team was made up, and we started reviewing the situation every day. We started supporting the employees, and the communication was one of the important aspects. So we started conducting town halls. So again, one of the best experience I had in this company, and this company is one of the companies I have worked with. Previously, I have also worked in great organizations, but I came and joined Motocorp in 2014. During that time, I have seen the leadership rooted with purpose. What does it mean? The way our chairman connected with the employees at large, he conducted at least 33 town halls. And that was chairman directly himself talking to employees, talking to the employee family members, and then understanding their issues and trying to resolve with the team across of the leadership team. So that was fantastic to see. And all the leadership team at our level, we have followed the suit. So we have really contacted at a micro level and macro level as well with each of the employees in terms of supporting them 24/7. All kinds of physical and emotional support was provided in terms of the hospitalization, then again, engaging them, the social cause, medical cause, everything was taken care. And then one of the most important aspect was the kind of connect and energy that was built in, that the togetherness of the employees. That was the key factor in coming out of the situation. Very soon the lockdown opened, and we were the first one to open our factories. Now, kind of initiative which we have taken, to name a few, one of the aspect was definitely a communication, which was through the town hall and other means. Second was, again, collective consciousness at a collective consciousness level. So definitely we organized a lot of spiritual webinars, and also we have started publishing story of the day for motivating the employees so that they don't get depressed. So that was again one of the aspects. So everywhere, whatever feedback we were getting, we were trying to support them. Now, once it was decided to open, all the facilities open, and we were the first to open, and then we sort of bounced back in a manner that throughout the year, not only we achieved the revenue which was there in 18-19, but also in terms of profitability and the numbers very close to that. So that was an example, and that was a learning from how you capture the mind share and how you capture the market share. That was very important. How do you capture market share through the mind share of the employees? So that was one of the learnings. And if you look at the cultural aspect, now culture, if you look at organization culture, has 4 or 5 pillars into it. Now, one is capability culture. Another is commitment culture. Third is alignment culture. Fourth is individual performance and excellence culture. And then team performance and excellence culture. And all 5 of them collectively, it is the overall culture of the organization. Now, what we found out, the moment you connect the employees with the larger purpose, immediately the moment you align, so once we talk of alignment culture, the moment you align the employees with the larger purpose of the organization, the commitment culture increases manifold. So that means if you align the must do aspect to the will do aspect, so the moment you do the must do, that means you align the purpose of the organization with the employees through your communication, through your dialogue, through your support, using your emotional side of brain. Immediately the will do aspect, that is commitment aspect of the employees increase. And that's how they are with you through thick and thin. So that is very important lesson which we have learned at that particular time, and that result we are already seeing. In the second wave, again, we faced the same situation. Earlier, we were managing the change. This time we were fighting the war. So we repeated everything what we did. Additionally, a lot of employee benefits and facilities were introduced, which included unlimited sick leaves for them, 20,000 offhand cash payment if your family member is found COVID positive, support in the work from home, all kinds of digital support, a lot of facility in terms of welfare support wherever required. In terms of oxygen cylinders, continuous flow of supply of oxygen cylinders from our facility if they need it at the time of corona, COVID positive, or any of the relatives falling into that. Apart from support in hospital admissions, we closed our plants. Whatever, one of the days, even for the community, one of the days we received a call from a CHRO of a famous hospital chain of the country. And he said they are going to have another 2 hours of oxygen in Faridabad, in one of the hospitals, one of the branch hospitals. And immediately we decided within an hour or so, we decided, and we supplied oxygen cylinders from our plants, and we closed our plants for the community. So, and with no expectation at all. If you think there was any expectation, no expectation at all. And because situation was such, nobody was able to do anything. So it was fighting a war. Again, at that particular time, we found out leadership, the transformational leadership rooted with purpose, that really helped us. Now we are coming back to normal. We are again back to the normal situation. But I must say that in terms of engaging employees, there are 4 aspects. One is definitely physical, second is emotional, third is your social level, and fourth is definitely spiritual level. Now, if you talk of spiritual level, yes, this is the time when the leadership has to think how to really behave and act with employees. That is very important. At this moment, you will have to really act with heart, not with mind. Because spirituality, again, India is a diverse country. And people are looking at India across the world for resilience to come out, because the civilization is rooted with wisdom, not with belief system. So that's where, even Albert Einstein has said, no problem can be solved at the level at which has caused it. So you have to rise above, you have to come up. You have to come up at a situation where you can really relate with the employees, because it's at a consciousness level, we all are connected. And one of the examples are, if something bad happens to your neighbor or anybody, any news you see, any country, something bad happens, you feel bad. So at a consciousness level, if you are connected, we need to definitely be with our employees with compassion, care, and empathy. And that is the call of the day for the leadership. And that will create engagement. That will support your organization and its people in terms of alignment. And alignment will create the commitment amongst the employees, which will help you to rule the marketplace in the future. So that is my thing. And at the end, if you can play the video, this is the call of leadership at present. So you can play the video. That is very dear to me. And there are 2 aspects which I would like to discuss at the end.
Yeah, Rahul, please play the video.
can take off this video. So through this video, we can understand the life lessons on the leadership. We are talking about compassion and empathy through this video and the joy of giving. So that is where the leadership has to stand for its values and support the people. Support life now. People will take care of livelihood. Create high-tech environment to have high-touch experience, because right now you cannot touch people. So we have moved from high-touch to high-tech. Now again, through high-tech, we can create a virtual high-touch experience. Have patience to create patience in future. So now you have to be very, very patient, and the employee will bring out the passion. And again, as I said, that have mind share to enhance market share, win workplace to rule marketplace. So these are some of the key factors which will help us in future. Thank you so much.
Amazing, Ratan. I think we all felt, looking at the smile of our co-panelists, that we should go on and on and on, because you have such beautiful things to share. And I think you just bet sure we meet at time. But I will always keep thinking about, whenever we talk about looking at HR perspectives and joining the market share and mind share. I think that's a beautiful thought. I mean, you didn't talk like an HR, you talk like a business person. No wonder you guys have done so well globally. And I think lots of questions I have for you with your, where we would be discussing your global experience, and even in this period, how you could actually support the organization to grow. I think that's where probably a lot of learning would happen. And I love the way you talked about the combination of physical, emotional, social, spiritual, all the, focusing on heart and not really talking more with logic. I think that's also another aspect which was very, very great learning for all of us. And now I would be requesting the lady in the group, Shalini, to share her thought. And I think Pharma has a lot to share. So Shalini, we're super excited to listen to you.
Thank you, Dr. Runa. Thank you so much, sir, for inviting and hosting this session. And I think we are going to learn a lot from each other. And thank you, Ratan. It was very motivating and amazing to hear the thoughts and what you have driven at Hero Motocorp. So leaders leading by example. So I think that's a great way. So while we, as we said, that heart was at the center, we not only focused on heart, we also focused on the head and the gut. So we have this concept around, the head, heart and gut. When you have all of it working in tandem, I think we are able to achieve both in our personal lives and in our professional lives. And along with it, the mind starts to work to help the organization to achieve its objectives. No doubt, we have witnessed unprecedented, unimaginable and uncharted times during the COVID-19. And this has pushed organizations to transform themselves in many, many ways. One of the big changes is digital transformation. Why this digital transformation? Because COVID-19 has also pushed customer behavior to undergo a tremendous change. Did we ever feel that Amazon would have a blast during this period, or Big Bazaar, or Grofers, or Milk Basket, and various other opportunities when people have moved from, in-store to online? So the customer behavior has changed. And that is what made us realize that we will have to undergo this change journey, because people were worried, because a lot of organizations were closing down their businesses, a lot of organizations were making their people redundant. What will we do? We want to really transform the business by going through digital transformation. And that is where, we started to encourage that these changes that we will do, digital transformation, will be for the long haul. The digital technology is now being adopted worldwide, globally, at 4 different levels. One is the customer interactions, second is the supply chain interactions, third is the internal operations, and as well as the digital products that are being introduced to our customers. There are various studies that have been done and which are telling us the story that the digital acceleration or the adoption of the digital strategy or the digital pieces have moved by 7 years, which would never have happened in pre-COVID times. The classic example is, did we ever think that we can work from home for 1.5 years and continue to work from home? I don't think so anybody thought. And in our case at Baxter, we deal with doctors. Did we ever think that we will do a doctor call virtually? We would never have thought. But this has really forced us to think differently, reach out to our customers very, very differently through the digital platforms. The surveys that have projected that almost 80% of the customer interactions have now moved to the digital platforms, and they are now digital in nature more than ever. Perhaps more surprisingly, the speed in creating the digital offerings or the products has really increased globally, and it has increased by a shocking 7 years globally, and in Asia Pacific it is 10 plus years. So these changes have put the CEOs and the CHROs in the steering wheel of creating a change. And at the heart of this change, we will be focusing on culture, mindset, engagement of the employees to help us embark on this transformational journey and becoming more digital with each passing day. And it is for the long haul. So this is much more sustainable. Of course, it depends from industry to industry, from business cycles to business cycles. But I think all the organizations are trying to transform themselves digitally. And I'm going to focus a little bit more on what is at the heart of this change. The heart of this change is being agile, creating an agile organization. And agile will be at the core of the mindset that we are going to change. Now, how does agile actually start? Agile actually starts with the leader. And what is the soul of an agile leader? And I'm going to talk about 3 aspects that an agile leader has, and the leaders have to start because they have to lead the way during these times. There are 3 aspects of an agile leader. One is logos, second is pathos, and the third one is ethos. What's a logos? Logos is nothing but clarity of thought. Having the information which can get translated into knowledge, and the knowledge that gets translated into judgment and decision making. So it's a very important aspect for a leader, for an agile leader specifically, to have that clarity of thought. The second, which is pathos, is the leader has to play the role of motivating people, has to play the role of not claiming leadership, but actually trying to make people feel safe and secure in the presence of his or her leadership style. So it's not about how people feel about you when they are present in your company. It is all about how you make them feel about themselves when they are in your company. So that's what defines what pathos is. It's all about strong relationships across organizations, whether upward or downwards, sideways or outside the organization. The third, which is ethos, which is the qualities that are really admirable in a leader, which is how do you inspire people? How do you unite them? How do you mobilize them to achieve what is going to be maybe a next wave, maybe looking at things very, very differently, the business model, the operations, the way they are thinking about things, the way they are doing things, is how do you mobilize your workforce to do these things. So an agile leader will create more agile leaders. And that's where leadership becomes an ecosystem. And then these leaders then start to work on 2 things. One is the mindset change, and the other one is the methodology of making the organization agile. The mindset will have to move from silo to collaboration, from being scared to take risks, being scared to innovate, to having the courage to innovate and charter new territories. Then all of it needs to be simplified so that everybody can tag along, everybody can come along. This is the mindset change that the leaders, an agile leader and his group of agile leaders and his teams will be able to bring about. The second one, which is the methodology, you also need to start coaching and guiding your people how to create agile structures, agile systems, agile org designs, small teams which have faster decision making, faster response to the market, and speed in executing a product from the phase of kind of imagination to actually bringing it to the customer. So all this will be at the heart of putting the customer at the heart of everything that we will do. And when we do that, we definitely reap results. And I'll connect to what Ratan also said, that you create that vision, that you create that why, and then rest everybody, the employees and the partners, the leaders, everybody will take it along. So we will not have to worry about whether the organizations are doing well on their top line, bottom line, on their stock markets, how are we doing and how are we getting perceived. We will always be ahead in the foray of getting across to the customer, meeting the needs and demands of the customer. I'll give one example and I will close this keynote. We work into renal space, so we do everything for the customer which is basically related to the kidney health. So we have two therapies. One is the hemodialysis, which is done in the hospital in the presence of the doctors, the healthcare professionals and the nurses, and the other therapies you can do at home, which is called peritoneal dialysis. Now, peritoneal dialysis requires a lot more changing the game in terms of occupying the mind of the patient and the caregiver as well as the healthcare professional. So reaching out to the patients who are at home, taking them to a level of comfort where the therapy that we are providing to them can be taken care through the digital aspect. So digital consultation, digital support in terms of managing the machines that they have, digital support or digital education to the caregivers at home and healthcare at home has helped us actually increase our space and our customer base in that territory of peritoneal dialysis, which was not the case earlier because a lot of patients wanted to go to the doctors or the hospitals where they felt more comfortable saying this therapy will work for me. So moving actually the needle to address the customer needs through being agile has actually helped us to kind of charter new territories. With that, I'd like to close the keynote session.
Brilliant, Shalini. I think you paved the way, from how to look at digital transformation to the fantastic anecdotal point around logos, pathos, and ethos. I think that's a beautiful triangular journey, one takes in an organization, which is fantastic as a thought process. And you also connected what Ratan talked about. He talked about resilience and you talked about being agile. I think so when both of you are speaking about that, I'm just, can't help recalling some quote of Richard Branson. He talked about create the kind of workplace and company culture that will attract great talent. If you hire brilliant people, they will make work feel more like a play. And that's where I'm going to Vikas, because Vikas had a journey of some organization wherein he probably had handled loads of youth and large head counts and some, you're talking about Shalini, some organizations, and Ritesh must have been smiling year to year because we invited the CHRO of those organizations like Swiggy, Big Basket, and UV from Make My Trip, from Grofers, Ankush joined. They all spoke in 2020 about it. So that time we were saying, hey guys, if one side you're looking at lot of anxiety and all, there is e-commerce, there is healthcare, they are actually giving a very different perspective. But I think that is settled and all of you are giving a next level of conversation, and we are all yours to Vikas, that how you're managing people.
Thank you so much, Runa ma'am, and pleasure to be here today. Thanks to the team at DigitalHR, you, and of course my esteemed panelists as well. In fact, was listening to Agrawal sir, Shalini, and honestly, the wealth of knowledge and experience that they shared, it's almost impossible to follow up and add anything additional to that. But since you've invited me and I must justify my presence, I will share a few thoughts. I also know that you stay relatively close by, less than 5 kilometers. So if I don't do a good job, you might be headed here to beat me. So with that, though on a serious note, I know you're the last person to beat anyone out, but I must, share what I think about the topic, which is of course changing dimensions of employee engagement and organizational culture. Now, with the title itself, which has been so beautifully framed, I think we've all established that the dimension has changed. There is no two ways about it. There's no looking back. The way employee engagement is going to happen or already happening actually today, and the way we build culture in our organizations, both these are so well interlinked that the dimension has clearly changed. And for the benefit of the audience, I'll just kind of bring in some context here, because I think that's important, especially if there are young students, young professionals also listening in today. The fact is that culture and engagement becomes very important in our organizations, because we've realized over the last century or so that scale is important. And when you want to build in scale, the most important thing or important elements in the mix are really your technology and people. Thanks to the technology developments over the last few years, what has clearly become easier is scaling up your technology. Now you have the internet, which shrinks boundaries. You've got scalable architecture that can create modules for you to use in the cloud, and deployment becomes faster and all of that. But people is another different story altogether, as we realize. And I know, Runa ma'am, you also come from a very high manpower kind of industry as one of the main career tracks that you followed. And the fact is that each one of us, even the 4, 5, 6, 7 speakers that we have today, are very, very different in their own personality. Their aspirations, their likes, dislikes will all vary. And when you multiply that into large organizations, which are running today into headcounts of 100,000 and plus, you realize that building that culture, getting employees to be engaged, becomes an altogether different challenge. Now, if we were to be in a scientific, into a non-scientific world where maybe we are looking at art, for example, trying to create an M.F. Hussain or a Raza, you will probably appreciate the uniqueness and the the limited availability of that kind of resource. But when you look at scaling up an organization, you want pretty much everyone to sort of be of a similar shade. And as much as today we celebrate diversity, and we want to welcome people from different backgrounds, and we are encouraging that in all our organizations, I'm sure. The fact is, at the end of the day, you want them to kind of bond over that one war cry, that rally together, much like Mr. Agrawal shared, like happens in a battle or in a warlike situation, where everyone is centered around a specific mission, a goal, an objective, and it's a collective effort towards meeting that objective. No wonder the corporate world is also synonymous with the words like competition, like battlefield, like war for talent. We hear that on a day-to-day basis, I'm sure. So when you are in a situation like this, now we are reaching a dimension of employee engagement and culture building, which has again got turned 360 degrees. And why is that happened? In my mind, it's very clear. The pandemic, Shalini also explained, has completely upended our lives. We've now got to rethink the way we have been running our businesses, our companies over the last so many years. if you go back in time, the current structure of our organizations, the way people headed to office or were centered is a direct output or development from the factories age, where once Henry Ford decided that we could use an assembly line and make our production more efficient, that gradually spread like wildfire towards through all sectors of the economy, to the extent that even in people-intensive organizations or domains like software development and so on, we started referring to those large campuses as factories. The IT campuses where tens of thousands of young employees would and continue to be, in fact, today in the same campus in cities like Bangalore, Pune, and Hyderabad, and so on. But that factory has now got totally disrupted because the pandemic has made us realize that we need to be safe. We need to distance ourselves from each other. And the best part is that today the technology framework also allows us that. So it's no longer important for the 4 or 5 of us to be sitting in one room and having this discussion. But really the ease with which it is happening today on this platform has shown us that at least for the most part in the services industry, where not the connect or the requirement of the resource is not on the floor or not required to be in front of the end consumer, work can happen pretty much with the same level of efficiency. So that's the reason this entire model is now changing. You couple that with the fact that today's generation is also looking for different mindset when they come into work. They are very driven. They're very ambitious. They want to know what they are doing in the larger organization. Whether you're 500 people or 50,000 or 500,000, they need that constant validation. They want to be aware about what difference they are making to not only their organization, but how the organization is further making a difference to society at large. So given all this being the reasons for the change, we must also understand what has changed. And the big change that I see happening in the services space, which I am part of, is that today now employees have tasted blood. They have relocated to their hometowns. They no longer have to swipe into their office building, clock in the 9.5, 10 hours. And now they understand that if work can happen remotely, then why should they ever get back to the office space? At the same time, business leaders have also realized that if employees can now work comfortably from the confines of their home, they can have tremendous economic savings, whether it is transport for them, whether it is renting large buildings, and so on and so forth. So this is throwing up a very interesting set of new challenges on the employee engagement and culture building standpoint. Earlier on, when you could get everyone into a physical space, it was still relatively easier for the HR folks or even the business line leaders and others to create events, to walk around, to have those informal gatherings and try and build that brotherhood and develop a culture. But when your employees are spread out across 555 cities in the nation, how do you solve for that problem? That's the interesting challenge that is now being thrown up. Do we have an answer? Maybe not a perfect answer for now, for sure, but I think the best minds in the country are on it. The example that Agrawal sir shared about the work that the Hero Group has done in terms of standing up for employees at the time of the recent second wave and even before, shows us that there is a fresh thought. Leaders are willing to step up and put everything else, nation, employees, before the bottom line. And I think that's what will be required in times that are yet to come. I'll just like to sum up by saying that somewhere to build employee engagement and the culture of an organization going forward, we'll have to play a very smart balancing act between the organization's requirement to have a unified approach and a single goal, and at the same time balance the individual aspirations and goals of each one of those that make up the organization. So that's what I'll share today.
Absolutely. I endorse what you mentioned, and did you probably kind of triggered a thought in my mind when you said people are into 560 location, maybe plus. I remember someone talking about 17,000 people joining one session, and imagine where they would be. So probably, when you started talking about that, how do you do that? And technology is supporting the whole scale, which we have created through large number of people in, especially, Shalini talked about healthcare and, and definitely Ratan being a global leader comes across. And I'm sure a lot of stuff is waiting from Jubin, from Philips and his earlier experience. But I think I'm tempted to say that maybe, gamification, if you really gamify the whole context, when I look at my son playing earlier PUBG, now Pokemon, and then Dota, you realize that the whole world is together. And my God, he jumps out of the house even during the lockdown and says, don't worry, mom, I'm going to be the car, but we have a raid to do. So how does that happen? So I think that's probably that fun element which we're trying to do earlier through Rangoli and now through probably Zoom links, maybe has to do a very different thing together with technology. And engagement is something which Zubin loves talking about. So why not go to Zubin and hear that, rather than building the culture, what exactly HR is doing to take the employee engagement in a much superior level and ensuring that we thrive. So Zubin, over to you.
Thank you, Runa. Just checking, can you hear me all right?
Perfect.
Okay, awesome. I definitely cannot add anything what Shalini, Ratan, and Vikas. I mean, they've said it all, and it's always disadvantages to go last because you just have that many less points to add. But I think what I want to do, Runa, is really cover things that probably we didn't touch upon, or rather in a way, we didn't talk about. Now, all that my esteemed panelists talked about, everything revolves around employee engagement. And for me today, it's no more employee engagement, but it's employee experience. That word engagement doesn't exist anymore because it's about employee experience. It's about employees being in the center of everything we do, and I truly believe in it. And pandemic is just fast tracked that for us. If it always existed, but now with the whole pandemic, it's just fast tracked for all of us. So which means when I'm saying employee experience, I'm talking about the whole mind, body, and physical fitness. We talked about, Ratan talked about the heart, in which they did a lot of things. Shalini talked about the heart, head, and the gut. But what I'm saying is everything that they talked about revolves around employee experience, right? So it's about mind, body, and physical fitness, whether you're in the workplace or whether you're at a home. Now that encompasses everything that we need to think about, right? So gone are the days where we're saying, if you come to workplace, we will take care of you. If you're outside workplace, we will not take care of you. I think those days are gone, right? It's a whole experience wherever you're sitting. So I think that's one thing that's changing, and that's something that as any organization already achieved the best in class employee experience practices, no, because that's a journey. Every day evolves, every day something new that we learn. So I would say this is something that organizations will evolve around, will learn on the go. So it's going to be employee experience. You will not see employee engagement talked about. It's going to be fully employee experience. Then we are going to talk about a lot that we are going to spend a lot of time and energy is going to be around durable skills. I think in some form and shape, skill building. I know Ratan talked about capability building in some form and shape is going to be the magic wand for all of our employees, and how we can enable that for them, right? All of us have skills, but with the pandemic, with the way things are changing, how can we upskill our durable skills that give us meaningful outcome for both for the organization and for the individual, right? So that's something as an organization all of us are thinking and evolving around. And then Shalini talked about agile leadership, which is phenomenal. I think every organization is in some form and shape. That's the way to go forward. But I just want to take it a notch level and say it's going to be more of a connected leader that's the expected as we go forward. So what does a connected leader really mean? A connected leader is agile, that Shalini talked about, B, authentic, and 3, who has the transformational skills, because these 3 are here to stay. Whether we like it or not, every year there's going to be some form of transformation, either within the organization or external factors, internal, that will hone your transformation skills. And you have to be authentic as leader. I think employees today, and more as we move in the employee experience curve, we are going to be Gen Zs that are going to come in. We are going to have generational diversity within our workforce. They like authenticity. They don't like putting up a face. Tell me what it is on the face, right? Don't put it up. Be authentic. So I think that is something we want to enable our leaders, because you're not born with these skills, but you need people like us and the organizations to build a culture around how you hone some of these skills and how leaders can take this journey. And the last thing that probably I want to talk about is that's changing as a landscape is we want every individual, be it a leader or be it an employee, or in any role that you play, to be entrepreneurial in your mindset. Run it like your own business, right? Which means we are trying to say, own it like your business. You have to have an entrepreneurial mindset in times like these. It's very, very difficult that, when you just want to talk about me, myself, but that's not going to work. It's really going to be the whole ecosystem, how we come together. And this pandemic has just taught us that so beautifully, that it's just not about me, but everyone around us have to come together to be safe, for example, right? In the context of pandemic. So the entrepreneurial mindset is really, really important. So I think these are the 3 or 4 things that is important, which I thought is probably something that we want to add to already what our panelists talked about. And for Philips as an example, right? All of this in some form of shape, we've started that journey, and our purpose is extremely strong, right? And that's one thing that we have realized with the employee experiences today. People connect to a purpose, a lot to a purpose, and that's their driving factor, right? So just to read out our purpose, we are a leading health tech company. Purpose to improve people's health and well-being through meaningful innovations, and we want to touch 2.5 billion lives by 2030. So think about it, right? Your purpose, whatever you do today, in any role that you play, the outcome is you're saving a life, right? So that's a very strong purpose. So a lot of health tech companies, pharma companies, that they do. So and why I say this, Runa, in the context of what we are talking about, employee engagement and culture, is predominantly because like I talked about, employee experience is really changing from a mission driven organization to a purpose driven organization. So people want to connect to the purpose. People want to know what I'm doing today, what is the outcome really about, right? So that's something organizations are going to build on. That's something the organizations will think about, the change that's happening. And when we say about culture, I think a purpose is always your overarching Bible motherhood statement, right? And then how you build culture to that. Culture can change, but end of the day, your purpose is still that. And how do you navigate through the change that comes in and then build a culture and keep honest to your purpose? I think that's going to be a very important piece for HR leaders, for change champions, for any leaders that are going to take this or experience in new ways of working, the future of work. Right, I would want to call it really the future of work, which we don't know. We are building it together. Like Vikas said, all the stalwarts in the industry are talking about this topic either over a water cooler conversation, over a Zoom meeting, over a Teams meeting, because all of us are trying to figure out what is the new future. But I'm pretty sure with whatever I've heard, it's very exciting, opens up massive avenues. Your generational diversity, your diversity, gender diversity, all of these avenues have opened up so tremendously, because you can be wherever you are and still be part of a larger purpose of an organization. Today, it's mostly it's not going to be that you're going to be asked to come to a place and work. You can still be sitting out of a tier 2, tier 3, tier 4 city where you are and still deliver the outcome that you want to do. That's something is very interesting. Workforce dynamics that's changing. We don't know how is it going to play out because we still don't have a lot of data around it. But I will not be surprised that that's the way, that's the go forward model. So that's really my, just wanted to call out a few things which I see is important in addition to what already some beautiful things our panelists have talked about. Thank you, Runa.
So impressed. I think I just wanted all of you to go on and on and on. I was like, Runa, don't even worry about your questions. And a couple of them has appeared on the chat. I'm sure we can look at that one who's very diverse as a question. I was wondering that, all of us are part of probably those, campus to corporate connect, and we had been addressing a lot of students and, a very different arena. And some of I'm very lucky to share some of the dices with you, sometime with Vikas, sometime with Ratan. If I don't remember, I always looked up Ratan whenever he has been on the stage. So sharing the dice, I'm really trying to recall, but Shalini and Vikas, and I'm taking a journey with Jubin. But Jubin, very impressed with your, keynote, and loads of stuff I've written. My God. So I think somewhere you are talking about the workforce dynamics. I think that's what I loved when you shared, and when you also pointed towards being having that purpose. I love the way you talked about mission to purpose. I think somewhere that action is coming. HR is not just talking about strategy, not about the philosophies, not about the guidelines. Now it seems that all of you are like talking about action learning, and a lot of stuff which is very palpable and people can actually take up there and move ahead. And probably that's where my first question to all of you would be, that how are you looking at certain aspirational context, when you are saying that my leadership demand is this, my employee demand is this, my market, my competition demand is this. But being HR, or not just being a guide, let me also act. So how you're moving your organization from the actual stage to desired stage. You can touch the context of business, you can touch the context of culture. I thought of culture, but I'm tempted to say that how you're really supporting, from actual state to desired state, when you are supporting the whole business and building that culture. Who wants to start first?
I can go first.
My thoughts. Sure.
Go on, Vikas.
Go. Yeah.
Vikas, go on. I can.
Okay, sure. So, very briefly, Runa ma'am, I'll take a cue from what Ratan sir said earlier, and I think that's pretty much the story we followed as well, and I've seen it consistently amongst at least the more evolved organizations in the last 3 months, 6 months. In the second wave, honestly, companies put their balance sheets away, and it was survival first, lives first, and livelihood would follow at a later stage. And I think that by itself shows us that the organizations, leaders, HR fraternity, who played a very active role in that, have realized the importance of looking beyond their physical structures or their own internal people, because the net expanded to include family members, friends, even society, because in a lot of cases, we ended up either supporting through volunteering efforts or donations in kind or in money. So that transition has started off in a huge way, the way I see it. And I think this reset will only make sure that as we move forward, this continues to evolve in a holistic way.
So Shalini?
Yeah. So, I completely agree with Vikas, what he said. The network expanded, and the lines got blurred within organization as well. We organized about 1,000 oxygen concentrators for our employees across all the entities. So we have global R&D, we have global IT, global manufacturing, global captive, and the India commercial. So we have these 5 different kinds of businesses across India, and our employees are widespread across various parts of the country. To reach out to them with all the support that was possible, we just broke all those silos. We just came across as one big organization, everybody doing what was possible and what was best. So that is something. And unfortunate incidences did happen. We lost about couple of employees who were survived by very young kids. But then the way the organization and the colleagues and the teams far and wide, they have supported, whether it is in terms of, giving some funds, providing emotional support, reaching out to the families, every possible way we have gone out and about to just make sure that we are there to help and support. So I think that's one thing that has clearly come out. Again, I go back to my conversation of head, heart and gut. So the head bit again, kind of comes back. While during these times, we needed to support the employees with every possible measure of emotional, support, financial support. But we also wanted to make sure that we are getting ready for, a more stable and an evolved organization post-pandemic. Because the challenges are going to be really there. And the challenges have been there. I mean, sometimes people may have this notion that pharmaceuticals, they are riding the wave. That's not true. Because a large part of our portfolio is also hospital products. We also sell anesthesia, both inhalation and, the injectables. And if people are not going into hospitals, there is no demand. And if there is no demand, there is no business. So we really need to reimagine the business. And we started to drive the entire organization about thinking on 3 aspects. What is the future customer going to look like, and future customer changes that we are going to bring about? What are the future operations going to be looking like? And at the heart of it, what is the future you going to look like? So, kind of helping people to digitally scale them up, help them to understand what are the new technologies that are going to enable them to upskill themselves. So that is where we have been talking to our employees, making sure that we bring to them digital learning. So we launched something called Digital Learning Adventure, which has got various aspects of, you could be a starter in trying to understand digital technology, you could be at a mid-level, or you could be an expert, but you still have something to learn. So we are encouraging our employees to really upskill themselves in terms of their digital understanding and the digital technology based on what they are doing, what are they trying to deliver for the organization.
While, Shalini, you talked about digital learning adventure and you had, quite classified the methodology. I think I'm, requesting Ratan to take it to a different level, because you have, in spite of all odd, a great global journey and a lot of success stories which might inspire people, whether from the culture concept, whether so engagement context. I would, like to request you and all love to learn that how did that magic happen?
Yeah, thank you, Runa. So in terms of managing the environment of expats and the global R&D center we have in Munich, in Germany. So again, Germany was first to receive and India was later. So last year when we had in Germany, so similar actions we have taken in Germany. Our project head immediately was guided from here, and then he took all the precautions for the employees there. Now it was very important to connect there because they were far off and they were also small in numbers. Our large presence is in India. So again, we communicated through our digital mediums and with everybody. I put in one of my team members to talk to them individually, all of them, and note down their concerns or whatever it is. So that was one initiative which was taken. Again, second was through digital means, continuous connect. Third was whatever initiatives we were taking, just replicate there. So in terms of stories, publishing stories for the emotional well-being, that was also going there. In fact, yesterday only we had a town hall and 2 of the speakers from there, they mentioned about the stories of the day and they were remembering everything, George Washington story or any other story. They were remembering how that helped them. So they were doing experience sharing from there. So that was again good to see. So whatever we did here, we told them, and we have a lot of expats working in Jaipur also in the R&D center. So immediately the first thing we did was, well, in the first wave, because at that particular time, there were anti-European sentiments or anti-British sentiments in India. So we have a lot of people, a lot of departmental heads, they are European, Britishers. And so immediately we talked to their apartment owners and the local police and the city SP and the police commissioner and everybody. that these are our people, they are living there, and we want to provide all the support. So administration, Jaipur administration was thoroughly, engaged with us in providing them all kinds of support. To their family, we immediately connected with the family members. I personally conducted town hall with their family members and all the expat community. Gave them assurance from my side that we are with you and nothing to worry. A lot of their neighbors, we found out they are there, and their neighbors also came and assured them in case of any need at any time, they can be there. So these things really calm them, nerves, and that's how. Second was they were worried about their team members in their teams. So again, those initiatives really helped, and everyday communication with all the R&D leadership team, that has helped. So in the morning, 15 minutes, I used to brief them. During the day, any kind of information, any kind of support to their team members, again, the transparent communication. I told them very clearly, basically all leadership team in HR, we have told them very clearly that don't worry about that. We are there. You just concentrate on your projects. You just concentrate on your projects. If you need anything outside at your base location or the hometown in Europe or something like that, you please tell us. There also will try to do something. So that gave them, kind of mental space where they started working along with their teams, started connecting with them. And very soon we found out that they are continuously engaging with their teams meaningfully. We also moved the team members' workstations to their places. So that was a huge exercise which was done. All the designers' workspaces from office to their spaces. They wanted a high bandwidth kind of connectivity, that also we provided. So within 10 or 15 days of the lockdown, we started resuming all kinds of projects, and we were at the 80% level. And that was only possible once they have calmed down their nerves, our expat friends and all the leadership team members. Once they understood that they don't have to worry about their team members, they don't have to worry about colleagues, and the family as well, because there is a team already supporting them, and they started believing that. They also shared in the chairman's town hall the experiences and all. That was pleasant to hear. But I think that has really helped in connecting. That's all.
Amazing. Thank you. Thank you. So impressive. A lot of learning. Very interesting questions come on chat. And I want to ask Jubin, because we are talking about engagement. It's like a almost reverse situation in this question. That if employees not ready to support management after COVID, then how to handle them to achieve goals? Can you throw some light, Jubin?
Yes, I can. Which is an interesting question, and there may be some context to it. But I think what I want to just go back to saying how the way organization react to some of these situations drives a message to employees. Like I said, employees today understand the intent, right? So to just talk about what we did, and I go back to my employee experience because we truly believe in it. In everything that we did, any of our programs, everything was crowdsourced. Everything was designed by our employees, right? There was a skin in the game. So and the most heartening thing that I can talk about is around the COVID warrior group that was formed. I'm sure every organization has it, nothing new, but what was very heartening was it was a group formed by employees for themselves, for their friends, for their peers, and it was a case study in itself, truly. They can't create magic because all of us are working in the same ecosystem. But what they did was people who were impacted knew that they could reach out to someone who's there to hear them, support them, and that was the need of the hour. Sometimes employees don't need solutions, they need someone to hear out and just partner in what they are going through. And that's what we learned in this whole experience, right? And like I said, employee experience is now moving to a very personal space. So today I was very, I could talk to someone in the COVID warrior group who I had a connect with for long. So which means I could really, it could be my mental well-being that I'm going through some issues what's happening because of COVID around me. I'm not feeling well. we had this COVID warrior group who did everything. The group also started talking about and helping employees with hospital beds, oxygen, you name it. It started off of just being like a buddy, but then the way it blossomed was really phenomenal. So where I was alluding to the question that was asked was, is all that we do as an organization, if employees at the center, if care is at center, I think employees will always be there to support, right? If we can support them at times they need us, we don't even have to ask for their support. They will just be there. So that's where I'm really alluding to. So I don't have any specifics to the context of the question, but like I said, it's a two-way thing. If we care of our employees at the times when it is required, they will give back in more than many ways that we want them for.
I think Ratan must be smiling ear to ear, since the video he shared, so much contextual, what he's sharing and what those little, fellas actually demonstrated of care and share, how apt. So probably Jatin Das has, I think I love Jatin Das stories. There are lots of videos from him. So thank you, Ratan, for picking up, and see how beautifully Jubin actually related to the question, responded. And one question I would actually direct to Vikas, because I've seen him, taking a lot of sessions in academia, and this anxiety I saw in the question that, how do you really see that there is no support system in academia in terms of salary cuts, management support? I think all of you can talk about it, when the business was going through turmoil. In spite of all odds, I think people survived. In spite of all, people actually came forward. But I think that contextually, somewhere we miss out on the academy piece, that how the institutions are shaping. So because quickly, can you, touch upon that? I have one more question, which is more towards manufacturing. So maybe Ratan and maybe all of you can pitch in. But this one, please, Vikas, I request you to talk about.
Sure, ma'am. And in fact, my request to the person who has posed that question would be to try and empathize with the academic community, put himself or herself in their shoes. The reason I'm saying that is very simple. To be honest, this wave, the disruption that we faced moving into an online world from an offline world of working, was possibly easier for us in the corporate world to get used to and become a part of. To some extent, we were used to video conferencing, long distance calls, reviews, and so on and so forth. But for the academic world, hats off to them, to the faculty, to the support staff, the way they have transitioned. And I have seen it at home with my 5-year-olds who's had to take classes on Zoom, and our teachers are actually started creating presentations for the first time to be able to build that connect with these young minds. I've seen that with their best of MBA schools, because again, they've been used to being in that auditorium, being with the students, working through case discussions. But we have not let education suffer. None of them have. And I think hats off to them. I would say that they've gone much further than any one of us in the corporate world has been. So that's my frank and honest opinion on this.
Absolutely. I teach MBA students, and I know that, earlier probably we had enough opportunities to do a lot of things on ground. But the leap the faculties had to take to engage when you can't see them. You don't know whether they're playing and the trust which got built, not only for the corporate world, for productivity, we say that now don't bother about how much login hours they have, rather the productivity in terms of outcome is important. I think that trust again has gone to the academy world that, okay, my 90 or 100 or 180 students are studying. I don't have to worry and get anxious about whether I'm just lecturing and they're playing somewhere just by logging in. I think the whole context has changed. I think, and that has happened because all the, fantastic, faculties, gurus have come forward to change the dimension. There's a very long question I have, and I'm also tempted to ask a question to Shalini from a very different context. I hope we have enough time. So I'm just going to read out the question and it's more to manufacturing standpoint, almost directional towards Ratan, but all of you can comment. It says that, hi, with the change dynamics of doing things for all of us, I want to know the thoughts of all the panelists in terms of integration of engagement with learning. Very interesting point, especially in terms of technical training program. wherein generally employees learn more with practical shop floor exposure. How do we ensure learning as well as active connect with participants when they are not in front of facilitator and cannot get immediate shop floor exposure to implement the learning? I think it's not in shop floor, just now, Vikas talked about from academic structure. I think any one of you can answer, but since it's towards shop floor, I'm first directing to Ratan and then I'll come to you and Shalini and Jubin.
See, in terms of, if I look at this question, so one is, if we are talking about training during pandemic times or the lockdown. So the one of the methods we followed is that we opened up per CPO for all the employees. Now this per CPO, the employees did wonders. That was really a big capability building exercise, where more than 250,000 hours were logged in by the employees. And that was really heartening to see. Even R&D had logged in 34,000. So that was, again, the capability building exercise virtually. In terms of skill building, technically, if you ask me, there are ways and means to train virtually. There are various methodology, but it is always better to do it physically. So in terms of any high-tech training program which requires shop floor experience, definitely it is recommended it should be done after the lockdown. And during the time of lockdown, it is also very difficult for people to learn anything, because one of the examples I can just quote, just 25 days ago, we are having some leadership transformation workshops going on, 2.5 hours and all that. And I'm also part of that. And we have initiated this 3 months back. And we had one calendar blocked for that, and all the leadership team had come there. And within half an hour, there was a chaos. They said to the facilitator that there's so many things we have to worry about during this pandemic. Why this training is required at this particular time? So look at the situation. If it can happen to a mature leadership level, our consciousness level is so perturbed. Very difficult to force any training during that particular time. Now it is okay. So it is recommended that during that time it should not be forced. It should be kind of per CPO kind of learning platform should be introduced, where employees themselves go and learn something and share about it. So they take ownership of learning. But otherwise, any kind of shop floor experience has to be done after, and that is now open. I mean, more than 90% of the people are coming in plants, and all the trainings are happening, skill building trainings.
Excellent. I think loads of learning and so much directional. I think I have 5 more minutes, and I'm actually pretty excited to ask one question, which is an experience I had. This gentleman talked about, Runa, we were so worried about work from home and work from anywhere. He's a very senior leader now, but now we are being called in office, and we are called in alternate days. At the same time, the capacity with which we used to work, probably in thousands, now we are talking in hundreds. So the orientation, when you talked about, the heart, mind, gut, all the combination, here are people who are not probably prepared for hybrid. They have become very, very comfortable with virtual. And also Deloitte announcing that till 2030, we're only working from home. So I think people are now got into another inertia. So what is it you're going to do when you're going to again undergo a change, possibly not even structuring the whole context, whether who's working from home, who's not working from home. So what is it you have to comment about? Each one of you can quickly, give your comments around the preparedness for, next, and how you're going to structure yourself, your people as people leaders.
Yeah, I can go I can go first. And I think first and the foremost thing is as leadership, the sooner we accept the future of work, that's reality, right? So that's first step, right? Just accepting what it is. Second is I think at least for the R&D organizations, by large, collaboration is a very important skill, and that's where we build meaningful innovations, which means coming to work together is important. But what we're doing is the story really changes is you come to work for collaboration and brainstorming. Don't come to work if you have to just sit on your desk, be at home. So that's really a lot of big mindset shift that's going to happen. And the last bit of it is really about how do we get leadership sponsors? All of this is great. I can send beautiful PPTs and communications and all of that. But as a leader, I have to first be the sponsor for what I'm going to ask my people to do. So which means some of my leadership meetings, be it, let's say, goal setting conversations, brainstorming sessions, can I go to the office and call people to do it, right? When things get better. Today, it is still voluntary. But as things get better, we'll have to find avenues, check-in moments where we ask people to come to office, where we all come together, where the power of all coming together is demonstrated. I think as soon as we start demonstrating that, then we'll realize that coming together is important. And even from a cultural standpoint in India, particularly, we all love to socialize. We all love to come together, and that's not going to go away. Whatever said and done. But how do we encourage people to come for what they have to come together is something that is what organizations will start looking at and creating stories around.
So to add to Jubin's point, I'll just add here. So we are kind of, getting everybody together. So it's not leadership who's deciding how the team is going to work. The team itself is deciding. That is where we have the entire buy-in and different strokes for different folks. Like for R&D people, so we have the labs, people will have to come. But for our IT setup, there are 1,000 odd people who are working in an IT setup, and they could be working offshore most of their time. They need not be on site. So we are kind of just engaging with our employees. We are kind of collaborating to make this decision to say, how are we going to work as a team, as a group? So if we have to come, maybe once a week for collaboration or brainstorming or interaction, we all will come on that one day. And if we have to be present for the business, maybe 1 or 2 people are present for the business to be interacting with them. So as we are taking a collective decision as a team, involving everybody so that it becomes more acceptable and has a larger buy-in without losing sight of the end result.
Typically an EE, enhancement of empowerment. Wow. So any comment from you, Vikas? Because I think you have only a minute. Then I have to hand it over to
pretty much a similar approach to what Shalini mentioned, because luckily for us, our work is such that it can happen remotely. So currently for us, the guiding line is employees first, as and when the situation comes closer to normal and we feel comfortable to get them into our offices, we will possibly look at some sort of hybrid model.
Fantastic. You really did it quick. Ratan, couple of seconds on this point.
Okay, I'll take 30 seconds, not more than that. So basically, again, coming back to Shalini and all of the panelists, basically, it's again flexible, very, very flexible. I mean, one of the demands of today is to be flexible as much as possible. So we have left it to leaders, and we just float a Google sheet on Thursday every week. You just fill in the roster, whosoever you want to call, and whosoever you don't want to call, just don't fill it. So there are various verticals like chassis and pod engineering and your vehicle validation and all that, and racing team and all. They need physically people to be there. So they call almost 70-80% people, and rest of the people, many of the people are working remotely. Many of the people are working from home. We are absolutely flexible, left it to the leaders, and that is the call of day. And the moment we have stopped interfering, we have found that productivity has gone up. So that's what we have done right.
Fabulous. Thank you to all of you. I don't know about anybody, but I learned a lot. My notebook is full, and a lot of new words. I got Jubin, durable skill. Wow, and 3 pointers from Shalini, and Ratan, your 4 pointers, Vikas, your rotational workforce, what not I learned today. So I think with so much energy, I'm handing it over to Ritesh, and let's have a fantastic closing.
Great. Thank you so much What I can say, this entire session, if I can say in a single statement, I can say what a great justice of this today's topic, the changing dimensions of employee engagement and the organization's culture. It's a great blend of thoughts arrive from the leaders. And thank you so much, Runaji, for such a wonderful moderations and extracting information, insights, and the experience from the great leader. It was really powerful, insightful, and really impactful for me as well as for the entire audience for sure. Because the kind of topics has been, the discuss and the learnings, came out like employee engagement, organizations culture, the change management, the leadership, shift, basically how the leadership team should take this entire situations ahead. It's really a great learning. If we talk about like Ratan sir, the kind of first statement that you had given, people may forget everything but not how you made them feel. It itself saying that the kind of people experience that we are giving to the employee mindset and the organizations. It's really amazing. The 32 town halls in such a short time at a leadership level, it itself saying the level of engagement within the organizations. And your other thoughts, like you have shared it about the kind of people support, then engaging them socially as well as emotionally. These are spiritually. That is again a kind of really great learning for us. And in the last, in the video that you had given, joy of giving, it is really really impactful for us. And as a takeaway, we take it as a great learning for us. Shalini ma'am, you started with the digital transformations and its impact. It's very true, and it's great insight that you have shared about the digital support, digital consultations, digital learning. This is really amazing. You had given a few pointers about the creating an agile organizations, the strong relationship ethos. So it's kind of a pointers that we take away as a great learning from your sessions. Mr. Vikas, the scaling up the organizations with the technological support. It's amazing experience that you have shared, and definitely with the kind of thoughts that you have shared, it would be really impacting for us. And Mr. Jubin, you started with the employee experience. Amazing what we do, how we engage with the people, and the culture that we make it, the shift, the cultural shift that we do it, and how it goes overall is an employee experience is really important that you given as a pointer. The mission, the shifting from mission driven to the purpose driven, it is really a great takeaway for us. And last but not least, the important point is about the listening the employees, rather than solution is really important for the employees, but listening them is also more important. And that's how in today's era people are expecting, and that's how they consider as a care, that they consider as a support. So it's great learning from the overall entire session. And we are really delightful for such a great session today. Thank you so much everyone from the panel, as well as Runaji, for moderating the sessions. Thank you so much the audience for being with us and having this entire knowledge. And I'm sure you must have enjoyed this entire session. Yeah. So my team has already given the feedback form in the chat window. We really request that you share your feedback. So this is gonna be helpful for us to have the next sessions, as well as we likewise we organize such a great session and insightful sessions for you, and it's gonna be helpful for us. So please share your feedback, as well as digital HR social media like LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter, Instagram. So So we increase this community more and more. We spread this information more and more towards the HR community, and we share the knowledge. Basically, that is the overall objective of this particular event. We are also engaging, inviting the kind of contents in form of blogs, articles, or interviews and all. And my team are gonna share the details on this particular site, so you can definitely share, as we are really inviting for this. And Rahul from backend team, you there? Why don't you share the screen about our upcoming masterclass on the HR analytics that we organize, and starting from tomorrow. So it's a great things that we are doing or here. 2 days module that we are doing, advanced and basic module. So whoever is interested, definitely register for this thing. If they have any kind of questions, they can share to our backend team, or the email ID is given as a connect@digitalhr. Yeah, and so much. It's a great panel, Dr. Runa, Ratan sir, Vikas sir, Shalini ma'am, and Jubin sir. Thank you so much. A great evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Have
you.
a lovely evening.
Bye.
Take care. Bye-bye. See you soon.
Thank you all.